We are here today in Fairmount Park, Belmont Mansion, Underground Railroad, historical site here with Gregory Wright. What an outstanding story he has, exciting, most of all, educational. Mr. Gregory Wright.
Good afternoon, Cathrine. We're here, as Cathrine said, at the site of one of the most, I call it the hidden jewels here in my park. This is Belmont Mansion. We've known it, those of us who grew up in the West Philadephia area, you know, as being here along with Playoffs in the Park as a kid, which was right behind it, growing the public school system here. But most importantly, you know, is that we're here at the mansion. And I take great pride in being here. Yeah. This place, run by Ms. Audrey Thornton, has grown to something that has been placed on a national stage within the Underground Railroad Museum. And I've been fortunate enough to work at a school that is our CEO's Dr. Booker, and at this school, our school is called the name of the Global Leadership Academy.
Yes.
And at this school, we under the guidance of Dr. Naomi Johnson Booker, have placed the ability for our young people to become global citizens. Yes.
And what do you mean by that? I mean, what experience did you give the children?
Well, basically, early on, they get to visit, before they graduate, every level of city, states, the national government, and by the time they're in 8th grade, they've taken a trip out of the country. So our 4th and 5th graders will go, 3rd and 4th graders will go to City Hall to see how the municipal government works. Our 5th and 6th graders will go to Harrisburg and how the state government works. Our 7th graders go to Washington, D.C. They're on a national level. And by the time they get to 8th grade, they're taking a trip to Canada. This year, the first year we did it, we were fortunate enough to take our 7th and 8th grade students, to Canada.
Doing an interview? Canada? Well, yeah. Has anyone ever done this for the children?
Well, I don't know, but I do know that one of the things that they have left us with, those 8th graders that graduate this year, yes, that matriculated on the high school, if they participated in a trip, they now have a passport getting back to the global citizen status. They're now able to go and travel anywhere in the world.
Are you actually talking about a transport?
A passport to travel throughout the world. So this year, I don't know if I can say this now, but I guess I know that we will take our young people to Jamaica. And this is once again, our 8th graders will be experiencing the culture as well as experiencing the heritage of those Africans who didn't make it to America, but their final stop was in Jamaica.
Yes.
Basically, what we did this year was tour Ontario, Buxton, Chatham. We went up through Niagara Falls, came down through Detroit, visited Motown Museum, which I mean is mind-boggling now because if we stop and think about it, I actually saw, if you will, the hat and the glove of Michael Jackson prior to sometime leaving us. I mean, it was just an experience being in Studio A with the young people to see hits where the Temptations recorded, such as My Girl, and everything, as well as the Supremes and all those artists. So we were actually there, and then we came back to Cincinnati on the same trip, going to Cincinnati to the National Underground Railroad Museum, which it was headed by, or our tour was given by a senior historian, Dr. Carl Westmoreland. Phenomenal.
Well, let me ask you this question. How many children does this consist of?
Well, we took a bus of about 55. This year we hope to take the entire 8th grade class, and we plan to start a little earlier, so that way, if with the fundraising efforts, etc., that the kids can do, and we have some around here now working on their community service for their matriculating to our rites of passing ceremony. At Global, we don't call it a graduation. We save that for the 12th grade. So we call it rites of passage because they're matriculating into their next level of education.
Now, are the parents involved?
Oh, yes. At our school here at the Global Leadership Academy, it's a threefold process where it's the student, the parent, then the school. Because we know nothing happens without the first two parts.
Yes.
We can have the best facility in the world, but we don't have the parents buying in and the children believe that we care about them. We'll just have a great building. But what we have created here is a family environment. We call it an educational environment. It is a learning community where everybody has brought in. But we want to just go back to the Canada piece.
Yeah.
And earlier we were talking about a gentleman that most of the world knows as Uncle Tom. And I said that if someone was to call you Uncle Tom nowadays, after I've been exposed to this, you say thank you. Because Uncle Tom was a man, a great man, named Josiah Henson. And Josiah Henson was, I would call him, if you will, the original inside man.
Okay.
He was a man who was very articulate. Yes, he could read. Yes, he could write. And we're talking about a day where reading and writing wasn't prohibited amongst people of color, or I'll call them what they were, the enslaved African in America. They were not able to read and write because once they would find out who they are, even today, if some of our brothers and sisters would find out who they are and they come from great, phenomenal, wonderful, how about this lottery pick, if you will, stock, they will know that they are not only future leaders of the world, but definitely a force to be reckoned with in the science and the arts, yeah, okay, in the entertainment and the academic arenas, but the educational piece.
So what you're saying, Uncle Tom is African American?
Uncle Tom was an African brought over here.
Oh, okay.
His real name was Josiah Henson.
Okay.
Josiah Henson was a man who worked inside of a house. He was made to be an overseer, so his job was to make sure that the slaves got their work done.
Okay.
So on that level, you can see maybe there was some resentment for those who had to do some work.
Yes.
Because he had to make sure the work got done.
Yes.
But Josiah Henson escaped. He escaped into Canada and came back and forth posing as a businessman. So therefore, he was a man of great stature. He was meticulously dressed. He had to, and keep in mind, everybody who was escaped slave had to be meticulously dressed, well groomed, because if they didn't, they would have known that maybe they should have been on the plantation. So these people had to stay tied up, suited up. If they didn't have that overalls or with a suit jacket, this man escaped, came back posing as a businessman, helping other enslaved Africans escape into Canada.
Wow.
So if going by today's moniker, Uncle Tom, he would have been the one telling on these escapees, not helping them get abroad. He developed this community. I believe it was in, and I do know exactly the province. It was in Ontario. I want to say in Buxton. It could be Chatham, one of the two. But I do know it's in Ontario, where he became a minister. He had it so that his community, when they built their homes, and yes, they built their homes, and you could not be unintelligent to build homes that I actually walked into his cabin that is still standing today. There were, in the dimensions that he wrote, that the white picket fence had to be so high, had to be so far from the road. You could only have so many rooms, so many square feet. That way when folks came past, i.e. the slave catchers came past, these people had to be free. They're meticulously dressed, they're educated. Look at these homes, these can't be runaways. Because basically it's a classic case of not underestimating your opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Wright, for your intelligent educational. I never knew about that.
In fact, I will tell you, if you get the book, there's a book Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote that we in our trip actually the first printed copy of was Uncle Tom's Cabin. And then they have she rewrote another book called The Life and Times of Josiah Henson. So if you get to read that, if you get to just read Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Okay.
So if you get read that article, you will learn a great deal about this phenomenal man.
Yeah. What is so historical about this site here? Because this is my first time ever being here. And for people that don't know about it, could you please explain?
Well, basically, there was a Judge Peters, who owned this place, and he was a great abolitionist. He was a great abolitionist, and basically, to make this place phenomenal is that this was a place right in the cradle of freedom where people could be free. Where he had a servant that he actually was paying her. I mean, when we go through the tour, they'll tell you how much. I don't know exactly how much it was, but when he was sent back to Canada because they found that he was helping escape. His son picked it up. His name was Judge Peters. He looked him up. Google his name and come up. His son picked it up, and when they left, the young lady left the service, they gave her all of the money that she owned. So at that time, it was a pretty penny, and she was able to start her life as a wealthy person in America without any retribution of anyone coming to get her.
Well, Mr. Wright, thank you for your historical background. It was very inspiring and educational and much success.
And I would just recommend that everyone come to visit the Underground Railroad Museum at Belmont.
Oh, please do.